Ladies and gentlemen, back here on the House of Kayfabe YouTube channel. What's up, everybody? My name is Adam Harris. Great to be back in the house with the man himself, Brian Resner, still in the home studio for right now. And we're here to talk about, man, it was Super Tuesday. It was Title Tuesday versus NXT. Christian is operating in God mode, and we're going to talk about the return, the first match of Adam Copeland here on the House of Kayfabe. Brian, we haven't been able to switch back and forth between wrestling since the Monday Night Wars, it seems, or since AEW was going head to head with NXT. What was your Super Tuesday like?
Well, I will say, Adam Harris, it is a blessing to be here with you tonight and talk about this very topic. And one thing that I was just 100% a 15-year-old kid on Tuesday night, flipping back and forth between two really solid wrestling shows.
For
You know,
sure.
I can't really take anything away from either one of them. They were solid in different ways.
Yeah,
AEW was probably a lot more solid in the ring work.
definitely.
Um, but when it come
Agreed.
to showsmanship, NXT was bringing out all the fireworks.
Then Star
And
Power.
and star power, man, like I would have thought. I kind of wish the internet didn't exist, so I didn't already know that the Undertaker was coming, because
Right.
that would have popped me if I
Yeah.
didn't know.
Yeah.
If I didn't know, I would have totally, and it popped me anyway, but not as hard as it would have popped me if I wouldn't have known. um Sort of like they popped us a week ago with The Rock. I didn't
Totally.
know Rock was going to come out. I kind of
Yeah.
felt like he might, and I think a few people felt like he might, but we didn't know. We didn't
And
know
they've
for a
they've
fact.
snuck Pat McAfee in on us a couple times now,
They
as
sure
a
have.
surprise. We talked about a video already on the channel about Adam Copeland's debut, and the return and all the potential for the difference that he might be able to make on AEW. He's like a big name player. As you said, it was a blessing. It was manna from heaven for Tony Khan, who just lost CM Punk. But
Absolutely.
I think the thing we didn't talk about, maybe we'll just touch on this for a moment, but the thing we didn't say in that video is like, turns out Christian, looking back on it, is the most malleable player of all time, the biggest signing of all time for Tony Khan right now. Because think about it, does this Edge thing mean even as much if Christian's not there? If Christian's not the TNT champion, if there's not him to play the ultimate heel foil to Adam Copeland?
Absolutely not. One thing that I wish was different about it is I wish that Nick Wayne wasn't involved. Luchasaurus and Christian was enough. And honestly, I mean, they should have already taken the mask off of Luchasaurus and pushed him as an individual, instead of having that weird thing where this guy thinks he's a dinosaur. It just kind of screws it up for me, at least. But either way, Christian is in God mode. Like you said, Christian is on top of his game right now. I was talking to someone just the other day. It was like, this could be the defining run of Christian's career, because Christian's had
Totally.
a good career. And I'm
Totally.
not I'm not trying to take anything away from any run he's ever had.
Right.
But this run here feels different. It
Definitely.
feels legendary. And what he's doing right now is really, it's really standing out to me. And
Yeah.
I hate to say that with that, with putting a shadow on anything he's ever done before. And I don't want this statement to do that, because, of course, the TNT Championship doesn't mean as much as the World Heavyweight Championship. It doesn't mean as much as the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. But this character and what
Mhm.
he's doing right now is developing something amazing.
And it makes you
And
think that
and
it might be the most important title.
And yeah, exactly. And you think about Tony Khan has this big night where he's going head to head with the WWE, and he's debuting Adam Copeland's first match in AEW. To have all that going on and say, you know how I'm going to start this? I'm going to start it with Christian staring at the camera and cutting a promo.
Totally.
At that point, Tony is sold on this guy. We're not the only ones that are noticing that Christian's in God mode.
No doubt. No doubt. And that's your draw. The match is the match, but you have to have Christian there to make sure there's something to happen afterwards, to have that next step. And I think you're right. It's his most important run. I think it's going to be his most impactful run. But all those previous runs are what got him to where he's capable of bearing this weight. He's got broad shoulders right now as a heel, and you can tell he's owning it. He knows he's at the top of his game. And I just thought him at the press scrum was excellent. And I think a lot of people are saying, like, with MJF as the huge baby face now, he's not as enjoyable and his heel work is not the same. And actually, Christian is filling that void for us. Christian is the one who's saying, man, it feels so good to have a legitimate heel who's the reporters and doing it all with a stone face. He didn't break from the entire media scrum, man. And I just thought, there he is, man. He's in God mode. That's when I thought about that.
Absolutely. And Edge really is in a really great place to where, like you said, you have Christian to take that step, but how many other steps do you have? You have Christian versus Edge. Then you have the reunion.
Yeah.
Then you have the tag team run. You can really squeeze a lot of juice out of this.
For sure.
You can do a lot with this, and I'm excited to see what's going to happen. But I'm also, the entire time he was in the ring with Luchasaurus, I continued to say, "Oh, I would never do that with Edge. No, don't do that with Edge. Why
so let's talk
are you
about
doing
it.
that with Edge?"
On that
And
last video
really
that we just
bothered me.
mentioned, I said they're going to do some stupid shit, and I was worried for Edge. And we talked specifically about people we don't want to see Edge facing, just because we think he's, the cash cow. You cannot injure this guy at this time or any other time. And so, what did you think? It wasn't as gratuitous as I was expecting as far as the crazy spots go. What did you think?
I did not want to see Edge take any spots on the apron.
No.
There's no reason for it.
No.
There's no reason for Edge to take any type of bump on that apron. Why would you do it?
No.
I didn't even like the fact that Powerhouse Hobbs got that manhandle Jericho. Like, no, put him in there with Wardlow. You leave Jericho alone. Don't you realize you can't hurt these guys? Like, you're not in a position to hurt these guys, because the WWE is on an upswing right now. There is going to be a time in the future where it's going to be very difficult for you to talk someone into leaving the WWE to join AEW. Right now, you have opportunities, but they are going to grow small. They've already grown smaller. Yeah. The opportunities are not there like they used to be. Look at the release list. What do you scoop up? Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah.
Who else?
Yeah.
What? You gonna put the rocket on Rick Boogs?
Nobody.
It's not gonna happen.
Nobody's gonna move the needle in the same way that Edge is, and I think we touched on that for sure. I thought the match was good. Edge, I feel like his work is gonna be slow from now on, and he's not capable of doing as much. And I go back to that match that him and Randy Orton had, like the Falls Count Anywhere or Last Man Standing or whatever it was during the Thunderdome era. It was just long and brutal and so plodding. And then do you remember him and Orton having the greatest match of all time or whatever it was? That I could dig. That was of the era. That was a little more entertaining to me. But at the same time, I'm not ready for more 25-minute Edge matches. I felt like this one was longer than it had to be. And it was long.
Well, no, I agree with that. This one was longer than it had to be.
Long for the sake of being long.
I'm not on that side of thinking, because to me, I just want to see Edge on TV. I want to see Edge in matches. I want to see Edge cutting promos. And this run for me is about promos. It's not about in-ring work.
Sure. Yeah.
And
right. Yeah.
Edge is always going to be solid in the ring. Edge will always be solid in the ring. No, he may not be the Edge that he was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
that's
fundamentals are there.
That's 20 years ago. Yeah. I don't expect Edge. Actually, I would prefer Edge not. Don't climb on a ladder. Don't do any of that stuff.
No tables.
I want a slow, traditional wrestling match from Edge, because I want Edge as long as I can have him.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I can't really have it both ways. You can't have
you can't.
You can't have exactly. Explosive Edge doing crazy things, doing short matches. Can't have it both ways.
Right. Edge is literally one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. He's in the top 5, and he's not number 5. Absolutely, he's in the top 5, and he's not number 5. And I really believe that. I think Edge being with us right now is a blessing from the wrestling gods,
No
and I
doubt.
want to keep it going as long as possible. And that's why I'm begging you, Tony, please, Tony Khan, take into consideration that you have Chris Jericho and Edge at the same time in history in 2023. Count your blessings and stop risking the farm every night to put over some guys that should not be in the ring with them yet. And I'm not saying those guys are bad. I like Luchasaurus. I don't mind Powerhouse Hobbs. I don't have anything against these people. Don't touch Edge and don't touch Chris Jericho. We need to keep him safe. That's my take on Tuesday night.
I was surprised to see Jericho do that job. That was longer than it had to be. But I also, Jericho doesn't have a great history of getting guys over by taking the loss for necessarily. So we'll see.
Right.
I think there must be Fozzy dates or something. I feel like this was writing him off television for a little bit, but maybe not. We'll see. So back to Super Tuesday. What was your experience, Brian? Or were you flipping back and forth? Did you choose allegiance at the beginning of the night, or were you trying to see as much as you could?
So I did choose Allegiance before they came on because I knew Cody Rhodes was out first, and Cody Rhodes has my attention at all times. So I'm definitely going to watch Cody Rhodes. However, Cody Rhodes' entrance is quite long, and Christian was talking immediately.
Yeah.
So I went to AEW, and the great thing about it is I have a cable service from the company Hotwire, and Hotwire's channel setup is TBS 82 and USA 83. So I didn't even
Wow.
have to use my switchback button. It was literally up and down right there. So I was switching back and forth like a maniac, Adam. Like a maniac.
Me too. I was 2 channels away, so I had like the repetition move of the Roku device, and I was firing back and forth between two. Although, because I was excited to see what are they going to do, what all are they going to pull out, And so my next question for you is, man, we've seen the ratings. It was strongly in NXT's favor. I think NXT.
How could it not be?
How could it not be? But what does it say that WWE stacked the NXT card like that? All of the talent that everybody was talking about are not NXT regulars. It was Cody Rhodes. It was
that wasn't an NXT show at all.
No.
That was a main roster show.
It was basically a SmackDown. It was a third hour of SmackDown or fourth and fifth hour of SmackDown.
Right.
Or Raw.
It really was. Yeah, either one. But it definitely was. And I understand why. Like, you're already there. You're going to come to our night. Okay, we'll bring out the big guns. They have that ability.
Yeah.
They have the ability to pull the big guns out to the forefront. And they did it. And I commend them for it. It's the same kind of move I would have pulled. You come to my Tuesday night, I will smoke you out. And that's exactly what they did. You go to bring Cena out. LA Knight. You got The Undertaker. The Undertaker. And what a cosign for Mr. Braun Breaker.
No doubt.
Like, you get to be in the ring with Cena and The Undertaker in the same night. They are the wrestling gods are smiling upon this man.
Well, and I think one of the most poignant things, and it very well could be telling part of the story, was that when Paul Heyman introduced him, he said, "A WrestleMania moment waiting to happen." There's a lot that could come from that, directly or indirectly to the bloodline and to this Philadelphia WrestleMania coming up at 40. But you're right. They stacked the card. My favorite
early 90s, real quick, being an early 90s wrestling WCW fan.
Yeah.
Can you turn your head and listen to a Braun Breaker promo and not hear Rick Steiner?
It's hard. No doubt, dude.
It sounds like Rick Steiner with Scott Steiner energy.
Yes. Yeah, you nailed it. Yeah. And it's actually, it's like it triggers something in our DNA. Like those of us who watched enough Steiner Brothers, when you hear that, you think, oh my gosh, that gives me all the feelings I had back in the day watching
complete
Brothers.
Complete sidebar. As a 90s WCW wrestling fan, the Steiner Brothers are your favorite tag team of all time, right?
Totally. Yeah, completely.
Me too. And if somebody wasn't watching WCW, they feel completely different. But in my world, LOD and the Road Warriors were great, but they weren't the Steiner Brothers.
That's right. Yeah, my favorite meme was the one that had Triple H trying to convince Vince McMahon that Bruno Sammartino's dead. He can't be on NXT.
I did not see
Like
that.
Vince would have totally brought Bruno in for this, man.
Yeah,
Whatever it took, whatever it took. But what does that show, man? I mean, does it show fear? Does it show
no
domination? You know,
domination.
they
That's
just,
how I felt. I
yeah,
felt like, hey, we're going to
run up
dominate
the
this
score
night.
on them.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's bring out every starter we have and turn this into a squash match. And that's what they did because, it didn't matter what AEW did. They couldn't compete with that. You've got Chris Jericho and Edge. Okay.
Yeah,
Cena and Undertaker.
yeah, yeah.
What?
Cena,
It's a
Undertaker, Cody.
Cody, LA Knight. I thought that was funny that you got Cody Rhodes in the ring trying to keep people from watching AEW.
No doubt, no
Cody
doubt.
Rhodes started it.
Yeah, their number one. Yeah, their number one tool in the battle is going to be bring out the guy who helped start that company. Man, I mean, this is such an amazing time for wrestling. It's well documented. I never thought Cody was going to switch over, nor did I think it was going to work this well.
Well, I say this, if you've got the balls, Tony Khan, you should move it to Tuesday night. You should go head to head because just because you lost this Tuesday doesn't mean
That's
that
right.
you would have to lose. Look at WCW.
They couldn't
When
do that every
WCW
week.
Absolutely not. And when WCW started running against Raw, that was an uphill battle that they won
No doubt.
for 83 weeks.
And Tony's itching for a rematch. He's down. He's
Yeah,
been beaten down right
do
now.
it.
He wants that.
Do it.
He wants that comeback. He wants that
I,
comeback. Well, and
I
this
would
wasn't his
much
choice.
rather.
This was because of baseball, So I mean, there's a chance something else is going to happen. We're just in the beginning of the National League division, so it's like
Well,
it could
something to think
still
about
get pushed.
with Tuesday night. I would much rather, if AEW Dynamite moved to Tuesday night, I think I would watch more of NXT and AEW.
Just to see.
I would watch more. I would be on the edge of my seat just to flip back and forth, knowing that they're both playing. They would both have to be competing hard to win.
Yeah.
And we could really see something amazing because eventually NXT would have to go with their own stars. However,
sure,
I do like
sure.
what they're doing with Baron Corbin. So that kind of opens up the gate. If you notice, Baron Corbin is way better in NXT than he is on the main roster.
I will agree with that, but that still doesn't make me want to watch him. He's a channel turner for me still. I know this is better for him. I'd rather have him on NXT, and you're right. He excels down there. Channel changer for me, man. As soon as I saw him come out, I'm like, really? That to me doesn't elevate Braun, rather. That does not help elevate Braun. That to me is just like, yeah, that's that guy that everybody has to beat at some point. And now that Dolph Ziggler's not there, who Braun already beat.
No, I like the fact that Braun and you got both guys going after the NXT championship. And that is cool. I like the fact that he's there and he's vying for a title. It's been so long since Baron Corbin had any measure of success.
So we should wrap this up here, man. But there was one big moment that I didn't see coming, and I don't think it was teased at all. And I actually was shocked because at one point I turned the channel from AEW back to NXT, and there was Brian Pillman Jr. cutting a seriously intense promo.
That.
Wow.
I missed the whole thing because I was flipping back and forth and I got stuck.
I was glad I landed on it, man. And it was like, and of course it's out there.
How do you feel about the name? Lexis King.
I have to they're going to go with what they're going to go with. I hated Braun Breaker. I
still hate Braun. I still hate the name Braun Breaker.
At least in this case, they said, no, I'm denying my name. There's a reason behind it. And if King was the name, that's cool with me, but I don't know if that's the first name I would stick with. I don't understand why it couldn't just be Brian King. Or I don't know. I just don't know.
Yeah. Well, you know why that name comes together. It has something to do with his sisters.
Okay.
Okay. I think his name was like Alexis King or something in the indie. I read it earlier. I don't remember exactly, but I think it's something else that he called himself before he called himself Brian Pillman Jr. But why not let him call himself Brian Pillman Jr.? Just like, why do we not have Rex Steiner as possibly the next WrestleMania moment?
You got to watch the promo. You got to watch the promo because he says, everybody comes up to me. I loved your dad. I loved your dad. Well, guess what? I didn't know my dad. you know, I don't have the same feelings about my dad that you have, and so I'm not going to use that name. I when they see this face, I want them to think of me, and it like did a super cut between like that smiling Brian Pillman face and of Pillman Jr. Pretty strong stuff, dude. I mean, I have not been that rattled by a promo in quite a while, man. I guess I didn't see it coming. It's a guy that, you know, all the potential in the world that we've seen around here on the indie circuit. You know, Pillman Jr. was in this neighborhood not that long ago, before he got the call up, man. And so there's a lot of potential here for me, man. This is again back to us WCW fans from the 90s, man. Like we want to see this guy succeed. The same reason we like Braun Breaker, whether he's called Braun Steiner or not.
Absolutely. And I agree with that. I support both guys. I think they're both going to be really incredible. I remember when Brian Pillman Jr. was taking bookings, and I was, I was actually at the time running Superior Championship Wrestling, so we were in talks to bring Brian Pillman Jr. in, and I remember having the conversation with him, like where he's basically saying, hey, I have limitations. I just started wrestling. I
Wow.
don't know what I'm doing yet.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like I
Yep.
like, and I'm, now to think of where he's at and where he was just not too long ago is just
Fascinating.
unbelievable.
Fascinating.
Absolutely.
Good chat, Brian Resner, right here on the House of Kayfabe. We're going to keep following along. We are looking forward to more Super Tuesdays or maybe a wonderful Wednesday with one more head-to-head competition because it's great for wrestling and it's great for wrestling fans. So here we are. Be
Absolutely.
sure to like and subscribe. Go back and check out the video on Adam Copeland. And this has been the House of Kayfabe right here on the YouTube channel.